2008 Chrysler Town & Country. His passenger front window decided to just drop down into the door.
So, they gave you a list of things your car need. Let me show you how to do these things yourself. Let's pick some cars.
Go ahead and show you how to do the window regulator replacement on these things. And you notice that he's got a great way of trying to keep it up. He brought up the best he could and started stuffing a bunch of cardboard down in here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this panel off, get in and replace that regulator. I'll show you step by step how I do that in just a moment. You're going to need some metric tools. We've got a few metric tools over here that I think I'm going to use. Got a few of these little plastic clip remover tools that are kind of nice. A special one here that's really good for taking a lot of those clips off. Hopefully you can see that. You'll see how those work. Your screwdriver stuff. So, there's a screwdriver down in here. Got to pull this up. There's a little panel back here, a screwdriver, and then a bunch of clips around the outside. One thing about Arizona, those little plastic door clips that keep the panel on, most of them are probably going to break. So I've got a supply of fresh ones. Let's go ahead and get on into this and show you the tools I've got. And if I run into real problems, I bring out Big Bertha and I just take care of it that way. Just kidding. Don't do that. Take that little clip off behind the handle. There's a screw in there. That's actually a Torx driver going to be needed for that. I'm going to pop this up. Be careful not to damage the surrounding leather. This pops up out of here. And that's got a connector right there. Little green tab. Pushing that. Pull that out. And then under here, looking down through, you'll see another little pad. Actually just my fingernail. Pop that off. And there's a little Torx driver down in there. This is a T20 Torx. You're going to find in most cases, a lot of these door panels on most cars are going to be about the same idea. You usually have a screw holding it in behind the door handle somewhere. Usually it's just a little clip panel that goes over that. And somewhere along this line there's usually one that goes down here. And sometimes you'll find on the outer part of the door you'll see a little round disc that can be popped off to give you access to a screw. And this window's going to drop down when I take those pieces of cardboard out. So be careful, make sure it doesn't drop down all the way. But for now, I'm going to carefully take these out. That's going to cause this to drop. It take me a minute, so I'm going to go ahead and get some pliers and try to pull these on out and be careful with that. And I'll come back as soon as I get those out of the way so you can see where I'm going with it. I put some tape on here. This is packing tape, just to help hold the window from falling down while I'm working on this. I believe this has to come off as well. It's not hard to do, just put your finger there and pop that thing off. Okay, so I'm going to start underneath here, most inconspicuous spot. Sometimes I use a towel or I can use a piece of this cardboard to kind of go under so I'm not damaging the paint. And I'm going to move along until I kind of feel some pressure, and then I can tell that's where one of these clips are. Some of these apparently aren't broken because they're loose. So I stick in here and I move along until I feel some tension, and then I can tell that's where a clip is. You can probably see as I pull it off. And then as you look in here, you're going to see where there's a cable coming around to the handle. Down here there's a little plug-in that snaps in right down here. And I believe it's for a little door light, interior door light. And for now I can leave that connected. Just get this up here out of the way. Here's the motor. The regulator I'm going to be replacing is on the other side of this. It bolts up these 4 bolts. I'll be taking those off, and that'll drop the regulator off the other side. I'm going to undo all these bolts, and I believe those are a 10. I'll tell you just a moment. Okay, it's a 10. And I'm not going to bore you too much. I can either have you watch in real time, which is enough time for you to go have a sandwich or something if you want. Boom! There's 11 of them. Just like that, got those out. Magic. 11 of those. If you don't have 11, that means you missed one. Now, I'm going to open this up. This is a real hard thing to do. Gosh, that's hard. But that's going to give me access to be able to look inside and see one of the bolts that holds onto the window on this side. And then over here, I'm going to take the torch driver. And this is access to get to that other bolt that I'll show you in a little bit. Now, as I'm ready to pull this off, I'm going to need to get this door out of the way. So I'm going to disconnect this handle. There's a little clip right here. I'm going to squeeze it with some needle nose pliers so I can pull this out of that hole, bring this around, and then there's a little channel way here where that little round knob will come up, but I got the wire that's got to come over to this side. Okay, hopefully you can see what I'm going to do here. It's got a little expanding ears, and I just need to squeeze down. Okay, now once it comes around here, just pops that up so that can dangle and get this out of the way. I lowered the window down to about 6 or 8 inches, got the tape holding it in place. Here's the part that we need to remove from the glass. Let's see if I can show you. You see right in that area there, hopefully that's something that you can see. This slides up and down on the vertical part of the window regulator. This little goodie right here pops through the hole in the glass and locks this thing in place. So what I have to do is very carefully I have to lift that tab up and push it through and then let this part drop down away from the glass. And then I will do the same thing on this side. I also took out the 3 bolts that are holding up the latch area, because inside here there's a piece of linkage and stuff that hooks up to that latch, so this is all going to come out together. So as of now, I've disconnected that white, as I pointed out earlier, did the same thing over on this side, so it's disconnected, and I raised the window back up, put some tape up there to keep it out of the way. Okay, up around this area in here, if you look up through this hole, you'll look and see there's a rod similar to this one that goes up back in there. It goes up and it connects into where a keyhole looks like. See that purplish? Okay, that's the clip that goes up there. So I'm going to have to get to that clip and pop it off. Okay, I got it. Did I ever mention it gets hot here in Phoenix, Arizona? Cabling I've got over here is pulling on it, and there's no way to disconnect from that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect from over here everything. Whoa! Okay, now I got room. Just need a little help over there. So So the regulator, the part that we're replacing, is this vertical and this vertical. We've got the bolts on this side that I pointed out to you before. I'll be taking those away. And then here's where the motor mounts on. So these will come off, that'll come off, and then we'll go from there. So I got the 4 bolts from the other side that hold the main part of these beams on. There's 2 more here. Here's the back side of the motor. This is the part that has the wiring control to it. So as the motor spins, it causes these cables to move back and forth, thus causing the window to go up and down. So I'll loose these 2. Cut loose. Okay, so that comes loose. And now this will. See how that's wound up in there. And you'll see when I go to put this back in, here's where the bolt hole is. And there's a little nub right there that goes in that hole. And up here, the same thing. everything up there. Of course, I'll have to cut this. They got that strapped in so that doesn't come out and go sprink. It's got all the cables all wound up in there. So I'm going to wait till the last little bit. I'll cut that. So now I can put them back in here. One thing you're going to notice, I'm putting these into new plastic pieces. So they're going to go in a lot harder than what they came out. In other words, the ones that you pulled out, they didn't seem like they were all that tight coming out. But these are brand new plastic holes. You might notice, wow, these seem a lot tighter. It's just what they are. So here we go. Now, I think I mentioned it already yesterday, but I put this on and wanted to make sure that I got it nice and secure into the little gear thing right here. So I put this on first, bolted all these up so the regulator's in place. It's all bolted up, ready to go. And then I wanted to put this together. These 3 bolts, they go in very tight because the piece of plastic that they're screwing into now has got a virgin hole basically, and it's real tight. Tight, yeah! You think you're going to break something, so you got to be real careful. But as you wiggle this back and forth, turn it a little bit, those little splines will finally line up just right, and this will go up flush. Where the backside is flush, this is flush, so we know that that gear is engaged. And then we go ahead and tighten these down, and they do take a lot of tension to put them down. Nice and secure, so this is ready to go back in. So that's what we're going to do. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, shame on you. Come on, subscribe. It doesn't cost you a darn thing, but it helps me out a lot, so I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. I'm going to speed up the video for most of it. Maybe add some music to it, who knows. And whenever there's a spot that's fairly important, I'll slow it down so you can hear what I'm saying, and then we'll continue. But not a bad job to do, really. You can do it. Okay, here goes. One thing I forgot, place that linkage. You got to make sure the linkage is pointed up where it is. I got to point that up a bit. That was easy enough. Okay, so what I did here, remember I had to take all these off to get access over here, but now that I got it all back in place, I had to run this wire through and connect it onto the latch, connect the wiring harness back onto the latch. So I opened it up so I can do that, and this piece right here goes through that little hole. And then I'll go ahead and wrap the rest of these up. This is why I like to take pictures, because some of these places have little clips so that you can make sure that this is all routed properly. The clips help to hold everything in place nice and secure. Otherwise you might end up with a rattle inside the door. You don't want to have that. Okay, so I'm going to take out my picture and follow through and get these all hooked up. But make sure you do that. Take a picture of where everything is. That way it's real easy if you just look at the picture. You see a lot of these clips? Hopefully you can see that. I'm trying to get it in the screen. These all actually look like they're pretty fair shape. These are the, I guess you'd call them the male portion. This one's missing, so I'll have to find out what's going on with that one. But a lot of times, especially like I said, in dry, arid places like Arizona, plastic and rubber don't hold up very long. This is a 2008, and today's 2025, so you can tell how old those are. Anyway, I will speed this up as I go through, and I'll edit it out later. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bolts back in here to secure the latch, and then I'm going to get ready to drop the glass down to where it connects to those white grabbers, if that makes sense. Okay, so now that I have the latch put in, I've got this linkage connected up in here. and leave these access holes open so that I can work on putting the window down. But now I'm going to go ahead and put in, remember those 11 bolts around? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to shut the camera off for now until I get all that done, and then I'll come back so you can see some more important things. Okay, wanted to give you a close-up of after I got all the wiring put together, let you know what else is going on. You'll see this wire here, there's clips. I put everything into these clips to keep them nice and tight. Keeps them from rattling inside, because sometimes a certain vibration from the engine or the road causes these things to rattle. You don't want that, so nice and secure. I'm going to go ahead and turn the ignition to the on position for accessory. I'm going to try to roll up those white connectors, and you'll be able to see where it comes up to line up with that hole in the window. So see what I'm doing. I'm going to take this master plug, I'm going to go ahead and plug it on in. So now here's the button for on off. Can you see how it came up there? Right there you can see the hole in the glass. And here comes this piece. This little tab right here, the window's going to go down into this slot. So that'll be on the back side. This will be on the front side. That little slot will slide up the back and spring load pop into that hole. And you see how it pushed the window up a little bit? So now I just put my left hand up on the glass to try to bring it down. Again, this is where it seems a little tricky because you're so worried about possibly breaking that glass. Okay, so you can see I succeeded at that. This is one of the tougher parts to do. I got both sides in there now. This other side is the same way. So I can now tell that I can roll the window up. I can roll it down. So it looks like my job's almost done, huh? So, the nice thing about this is before you put the whole panel back on, you can test it. Go ahead and get the tape out of the way. By the way, if you use duct tape, we'll leave a residue. That residue is easily cleaned up with acetone, so you don't have to worry about that too much. So, quick test to find out if it's working. Look at that. One touch down. And goes up. So now the next step, of course, is to put the door panel back on. Okay, so now that I got the window regulator all hooked up, I can go ahead and put these things back together. The speaker has a magnet on it, so if you set it down near where you got your screws, you might find them picking up on that. So make sure they're not all there. Before I secure it all the way and put the panel back on, make sure I got it wired up properly. Yep, it works. Need to put it all back together with the cover and everything and find out it's not plugged in right. Okay, now bring the door panel over, plug this into the back side of this. Okay, so you remember how this one went. It had to have the little head of this cable has to go down in this little slot and sit sideways. This upper lip along the top here needs to fit down to this recess. It's hard to do when the glass is sticking up in the way. So, double check here. And then tilt it down. Gotta make sure I put this through that hole. had this lid right here that covers over this little hole. Look through the side, make sure that these little nail portions are sticking properly into their partners. Once they're lined up pretty good, it's just a matter of, there we go. There's a screw that goes down in here, and a screw that goes in that way. And remember, there's this little piece here that goes on top of this. Just a little decorative piece. And then the other one goes back here. Those of you that watched to the end, I promised you I'd give you money-saving tips on cars. One of them is, most cars nowadays have a cabin air filter. Some places will charge you anywhere from about 60 bucks, sometimes up to 150 bucks to replace the cabin air filter. If you watch one of my other videos, you'll see that there's one about your cabin filter. Save 50 bucks or better. It takes about 10 minutes to do it. You can buy the filter yourself, 15 or 20 bucks, and most cases it's up behind your glove box. You open up the glove box, flip those switches in, empty the glove box out, because when you do this, everything's going to fall out. Up above there, you'll see maybe a couple little clips. Pull the filter out, put the new filter back in, put it all back together. Like I say, about 10 minutes, and the cost of the filter is all it's going to cost you. So watch out for that. Thanks for watching Doc's Projects. Appreciate it. Hopefully you subscribed. And just last week, I hit the 1,000 mark, 1,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping to grow from there and help you guys out a little bit. Anytime I try to do some car repairs of some kind, I try to record them. So if you ever have to find yourself doing the same thing, maybe that'll help. Again, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.